West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm on half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, and we are back with another edition, another episode, another talk, another watch-along, call it what you want. Today's episode is a mailbag episode, and we really should do these more frequently. And I'm even tempted, as I'm like, this literally has come to my mind now, that Patreons, because you are the ones who actually financially support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, the vast majority of you, I think I'm going to give you first dibs on this episode. Not in terms of the questions, but in terms of being able to watch this episode. I think it's high time that those who are patrons of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast receive extra perks for being a patron. So you're going to get the link to watch this first, and then I'll open it up to everybody else a few hours later. So like I say, this is the mailbag episode, people. And thank you to everyone who has been sent. I think the original post that I put up to say send in your questions was probably about a week and a half ago. So thank you to everyone who sent in questions, and I've picked the best 10 or so of them, of these questions, and I'm gonna say what it says on the tin, which is address these questions. First things first, of course, with the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, as you can see on the ticker tape below, you can follow the Caribbean Cricket Podcast on all social media handles, from X to Instagram to TikTok to, we have a Discord page, we have Facebook, everything. Type in Caribbean Cricket Podcast into Google and you can find us. Our webpage is currently under construction. A brand new webpage is being built for the summer and going forward with Caribbean Cricket Podcast. For those who've been paying attention, the whole media venture and outlet of CCP is going to really ramp up a notch from about, I'd say July, August onwards. Big plans coming as to what we want to achieve on this platform. But without any further, and of course, hold on. If you'd like to support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you can go to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Big up Dan the Virtual, who made a contribution to CCP in these past few days towards some help and support to costs of getting to Ireland and back. Big up Dan, so generous. Can't say enough about Dan. He and I linked up in Trinidad when I went to watch West Indies play South Africa in Trinidad, and Dan's been a long-term supporter, follower of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, who has believed in the mission of what we're trying to do and understands how this venture, this media outlet, is trying to connect all the dots in West Indies cricket, from the fans to the players to the stakeholders, etc. So big up, Dan. Thank you for the support. So much appreciated. Big up to anybody who's become a patron in the last few days, and so as well last few months, etc. If you'd like to join that movement, go to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Every little bit helps and counts. I will be in Ireland in a week's time. The game in Ireland, literally by this time a week from now, I'll be at the ground. The current forecast suggests it might be rain interrupted, which I'm not actually bothered about. Obviously, if I fly all the way to Ireland, I'd like to see a game, but we're going to get some exclusive content in Ireland. So obviously, you can rely on me to get some stuff done when I'm out in Ireland. So look out for that. I fly out to Ireland next Saturday. I'll be there for the game on Sunday, and then I'll fly back to London on the Monday morning. And check this out, people. This is how crazy I am. I fly back to London. I think I land in London at like 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to rush home straight from the airport, probably get home about, 11:30. And then as soon as I get home, I'm heading out to Chelmsford to watch West Indies women against England women. Can't stop, won't stop. Who's more dedicated than me? Heading straight to Chelmsford to go watch the women play against England as well. So we're really on this thing. We're really hardcore tragics for West Indies cricket. Anyways, let's get into these questions, people, because this episode will go very long if I don't start very soon. So the first question And everyone who's watching this, you know, if you put these questions in, I didn't know if anybody wanted their names attached to it. So I started putting their names in, then I took them out. Apologies if you wanted it attached. The first one is from Machel Hall, though. In fact, I think the first three are from Machel Hall. First one: when does the movement to engage the diaspora start? Well, Machel, you tell me. In the last, 3 to 4 months, we've had Chris Deering, CEO of West Indies Cricket West Indies, on the podcast. We've had Miles Bascom on the podcast many times, and most recently in the last few months or so. And we've raised those questions to them. Obviously, Miles is director of cricket. I don't just say it because I'm part of the diaspora. Although it's a weird one for me because I'm Jamaican born. So as much as I'm part of the diaspora, the accent suggests that I'm part of the diaspora. And I don't really think I am, because Jamaica's my home. When I go to Jamaica this summer, I'm not going to visit Jamaica. I'm going home. That's the land of my birth, right? So as much as I say engage the diaspora, I don't really count myself as part of that, however much people might tell me I am. But that notwithstanding, I understand the question, and I understand the issue here. The Caribbean diaspora is the most underutilized part of West Indies cricket. I'm not asking anybody. I'm telling you. I'm not asking you any questions. Let me give you an example, right? Let me just break it down this simple. And anybody who's watching this is for a stakeholder of West Indies cricket. This ain't an attack. Just let this marinate in your head and then answer this question for me. The West Indies are currently in Ireland, right? The Republic of Ireland. They're currently there, ready to play Ireland men's team this week. 3 games basically in the space of a few days, right? Let me ask you this. Do you think the Caribbean Irish community have any idea the West Indies is there? Do you think they do? I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying, do you think they do? And what have you done to let them know you're there? What outreach, what activations have you done to let the Caribbean, the Irish Caribbean diaspora know we're outside, we're in Ireland? After you finished with Ireland, you come over to England, right? And you've got games in Cardiff, you've got games in Bristol, you've got games at the Oval in London. What activation events are taking place? Now, for all I know, maybe something is taking place. But if they are, I don't know. Now, bear in mind, the Caribbean Cricket Podcast is the biggest West Indian cricket outlet this side of, or in this immediate geographical area, right? And I don't know anything about anything taking place in terms of reaching out to the Caribbean diaspora. Now, you could say, oh, Mash, that's because you don't have your ears to the ground. But Santoki don't know nothing either. So my argument is this. You're traveling to the United Kingdom and Ireland. How much have you done to engage the diaspora with not just with the sport, with the West Indies? What have you done? We've done more than you. Really and truly. The Caribbean Cricket Podcast was started as a podcast which was trying to tie up the link between the diaspora and the Caribbean. It was a medium that was trying to take all the news from all the different islands and nations and bring it together in one-stop shop where everybody within the diaspora or back home could come to something and go, finally, I can find everything out. If we didn't exist, would the diaspora really know what's going on? And you could say, oh, Mash, you're so bossy. You're so bossy. You think your influence is that big. But no, I'm being serious. I'm being serious. The next breakout talent for the West Indies could possibly be in the diaspora. What have we done to engage with it? What have we done to reach out to it? I did an episode on the diaspora talents in Australia, in England, in other places. What's been done to engage them? Has anyone reached out to them? I've literally done the work for you. I've done it for you. I don't know, man. I'm not even talking about on the field. What about financials? Some of the, pull the figures, people. Somebody put in the comments below. What is the financial remittance that comes home from diaspora to nations and islands back home? By nation, tell me the remittance money that comes back home from the diaspora. Do you know how many people travel back with Clark shoes when they go to Jamaica? And I know I'm busting a joke here, but I'm actually making a sly point. Think how many people, when they come back to Jamaica to visit their peoples, travel with Clark shoes, right? That's because they want to give back, not just to their family, but to they want to give back to home, right? The West Indies is part of home. How have they engaged with the diaspora in a financial sense? And that's not about begging them. That's not about putting out a bowl and begging them money, but it's about how have you engaged with the wider community? How have you engaged with them to believe that West Indies cricket is something they should still hold a vested interest in? Big questions need some answers. Next question. If India and Pakistan refuse to play each other, what do tournaments look like over the next 5 years? So there's people who are better placed to answer this question than me, and I'm sure some of them will get in the comments below. So I'm not going to try and go too deep into this one because there's some financial questions that I don't fully understand that need to be answered for this question. What I do know is the TV rights deal for the ICC comes up for renewal in 2027. Everyone is anticipating that TV rights deal will not be anywhere near as lucrative as the current one is. So when that money goes down from the next TV rights deal, it will have a knock-on effect on the funding of world cricket, which is already bad anyway, because a certain set of teams take all of the money and the rest of us are fighting for scraps, right? So we already know that there's going to be a knock-on effect in 2027 in terms of world cricket funding. But then you look at the fact that India and Pakistan don't play each other in bilateral series, but they are always put in the same group for every... The Champions Trophy came back because of India and Pakistan. That's the only reason we really had that competition this year, because it was another excuse to let India play Pakistan, right? This is what everyone says. I'd love to see some more kind of financials on actual paper, but the story goes that India and Pakistan and that game and the whole ecosystem around it really brings in the money for world cricket. That's what everyone likes to say anyways. Obviously, they will never play each other certainly since the geopolitical fallout and bombs dropping, the chances of them getting any closer to playing a bilateral series seem non-existent, right? But they will still, you would imagine, continue to play each other in World Cups. And the reason why is they can't afford not to. As much as they will try and say, well, we hate them and they hate we and X, Y, Z. It's where money is the devil, remember? And people, not me, because I'm covered in the blood of Christ, right? But some people, they see money as their God, right? And that God that they see that money in is an evil one. That whatever those ones who worship up the money. And what I'm saying is too much money is there to be made where India and Pakistan is concerned. And as long as the people who worship money see that, we'll always get that game. Done said what I said. Do you feel the original 10-year ban for the Rebels to South Africa was too harsh or fair? Or should it have been in line with Australia and England, which were 3-year bans? I think 10 years was too harsh. Obviously, boycotting apartheid South Africa was the right thing to do. That's not and anyone who's listening to this who wants to argue with me, get in the comments. But boycotting apartheid South Africa was the right thing to do. The players who chose to go to apartheid South Africa, we just spoke about money, right? The players who chose to go to apartheid South Africa, as much as all of them always make that argument, and obviously Ashley Gray's written a brilliant book called Unforgiven about that rebel tour. If you haven't read it, make sure you go and read it, where he interviews basically all of the rebels who are still alive, right? And what I got out of that book, and also anything that I've kind of read and watched about that apartheid rebel tour, is there are some players and some people who still to this day say, I thought I could make a difference for Black South Africans by going. And what I will say is this: I don't agree with it, but it's easy for me to say that because I never lived through it. I personally don't agree. I think it's a mealy mouth excuse that they use to justify some stuff, but I never lived through it. I wasn't them. I wasn't in their shoes, potentially thinking I could make a difference here. But what I will say, what I always say when I hear that line is this: if your pockets weren't being full with, or filled, sorry, if your pockets weren't being filled with blood money, would you still have been thinking about black South Africans? So if you really wanted to make a difference for black South Africans, but they were paying you something insignificant to go, would you still have gone? So I don't buy it. I don't buy the line. That said, I'm not a big. They didn't commit well. They didn't kill anyone. They didn't commit a heinous crime. Yes, we should have been boycotting apartheid South Africa, but at the same time, what was the crime? If you see what I mean. And certainly it wasn't a crime that befitted a 10-year ban. Maybe a little 1-2 year ban if you really wanted to do that, but 10 years was excessive, and it certainly ended the careers of too many individuals who, like, people are allowed to make mistakes, not major mistakes, but I come from a tradition where you have to be able to forgive people. People are allowed to make mistakes. What's that line again? I'm going to paraphrase it, but first pull the plank out of your own eye before you pull the speck out, or blow the speck out of somebody else's eye, right? Or something like that. I'm sure some of you know the actual quote, right? And I think when I look back at the apartheid stuff and the rebel stuff, I'm like, everyone's holier than thou about it, as if they aren't fallible. So I think 10 years was too harsh, personally. What I'd like to see, which wasn't your question at all, but let me bring in some politics. Politics. Let me bring some politics. The same thing that we did to apartheid South Africa, we need to be doing to apartheid Israel. How about that? Let's move on. What ideas do you have regarding West Indies cricket? What ideas do you have regarding West Indies cricket? If implemented, we would see rapid improvements overnight. If you're talking about rapid improvements, I've got some ideas that would lead to long-term improvement, but you'd have to wait 5 to 10 years to really see anything really come out of it. So if we're talking about rapid improvement, this is what I'd do. I would take the best 10 to 15 players identified in the Caribbean and move them out of the Caribbean and base them in, whether it be South Africa, whether it be England, whether it be Australia, whether it be New Zealand, and I'd have them play domestic cricket in those leagues. I'd get them. I'd take the best 15 and just try. I'd jettison their agents. Or work with their agents and say, listen, West Indies cricket's in the doldrums, right? We need to do something. We need to do something now. I want you to find a club cricket deal for this cricketer. Obviously, T20 leagues, man, want to make a money, all of that. But if we're talking about rapid improvements, for me, the rapid improvements only happen if we take some of these players immediately out of the Caribbean ecosystem. We've been failing at cricket for 30 years, right? Generally speaking, right? We've been failing at cricket for 30 years. We can't even produce one test match batter of any note. So clearly what's been happening for the last 30 years is a waste of time and can't fix anything in the immediate term. So if we know that the environment is stinks, and if we know that our current environment can't help the cricketers, we have to take them out of the environment. Yes. That's like having a ghetto, right? Someone might say this analogy doesn't work, but that's like having a ghetto. And then for 30 years, you're saying, why can't anybody get rich whilst they're living in the ghetto through non-illegal means, right? Why can't anybody just get rich still living in super rich, still living in the ghetto? Like, if that happened in any, if that was a circumstance in life, you'd go, well, we have to get them out of the ghetto. That's why. Well, it's the same principle for me for the cricketers. Why can't anybody really become world class in our current cricketing ecosystem? Because the system sucks. So you have to remove them from the system, innit? What causes for optimism do you have for the next 12 months regarding West Indies cricket? None. I've got no cause for optimism, but that's not as negative an answer as you think it is. The reason why I have no cause for optimism is because with West Indies cricket, I've learned and I've adapted this now as my kind of core, my core essence. Assume we're going to lose and things are going to be bad, and then be happy when they're not. I no longer start by looking at things in West Indies cricket thinking, oh, this is going to be great, or this could work, or this will lead to something really good. I no longer look at things like that. I look at it, I analyze it, I look at the pros, I look at the cons, and then just wait to see what happens. I don't have optimism. I wait to see that optimism fulfilled before I start talking with real optimism. Like, we've been burnt for too long now. There's no point in saying, oh, this is like, for example, the West Indies Academy on paper, I want to be optimistic about it, but I have to wait to see it bear fruit. So that I could have said something like that. I could say, oh yeah, that will bear fruit in time. I'm really optimistic, but I'd rather just wait to see it happen rather than just go, yeah, this is the one, this is the thing. Do I think Kishore Shallow has some good ideas and has revamped some of the off the field structures of West Indies cricket to make it more fit for purpose in the 21st century? Yes, 100%. So technically, I should be saying, oh, that gives me cause for optimism. Do I think Darren Sammy has improved the kind of purpose and focus and direction of the West Indies limited overs ODI side? Yes, that should give me cause for optimism. But we've been here before with West Indies cricket. We go up a couple ladders, then we get to like number 72, get to that big snake, all the way back down to number 1. So I'd rather see things materialize before I start talking about optimism. How to invest in the experience and knowledge gained from the backroom staff that was applied to the breakout league. So I don't fully get this question. I still wrote it down, but I'm not. I think what you're saying is, how do we build on the experience and knowledge gained from the backroom staff who were involved in the breakout league? Well, I was told, I don't know if this is what you mean by your question, but this is the answer that I'm going to give. So we've been told that the 18 players at the bare minimum have to be drafted into CPL sides for this year's CPL. What I'd like to know is, does that apply to the backroom staff? So, for example, Avinash Sitram, the West Indies analyst, was working with all the analysts in all of the breakout league teams this year, right? Some people are getting their first real proper experience at a proper level in terms of tournament analysis at a kind of acceptable West Indian level, if that makes sense. So my thing is this: if we're saying that 18 players minimum have to get a CPL gig, then surely some of the backroom staff have to be brought along as well into the CPL franchises. Now, obviously, some of these CPL franchises, particularly the Indian ones, like to bring across their own people and headhunt whichever head coach they want and back them with people that they want. But if CPL is serious and Cricket West Indies is serious, there should be a clause written into CPL this year as well, which says people who were in the breakout league, the best people who showed whatever initiative or talent in the backroom staff, should also be attached to the backroom staff of CPL sides. Is that what your question means? That's how I'm interpreting it anyways. Listen, people, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 more questions. Before I get to them, I'm just going to play a little clip from our sponsors, Parlay Pros. If you'd like to get involved in what they are doing, click the link in the descriptor below. But here's a little clip from me just explaining what Parlay Pros are all about and why they have got on board with the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. How greedy! Have you ever wanted access to a sophisticated sports data-driven AI tool? One that allows you to study all of the trends, patterns, and lines on all your favorite sports and players in the sport of your choice, whether that be the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, the women's NBA, all of that. Parlay Pros have officially joined up with CCP because they are the right bet for you. Don't do what I do, which is guesswork. You see me? Once upon a time, I said, I'm going to take down the bookies 1 penny at a time. I used to lay down bets on surefire things. I'm talking about 1 to 1,000 odds. And one day I lost. Oh, bomber clots. But you'll never have to experience that with Parlay Pros because they offer you data-driven insights that allow you to flutter on sports without simple guesswork. Should you want to know more, just click on the link below and you can speak to the founders and find out all about what they offer and what they do. And when and if you go forward, remember to use that affiliate code CCP. But you don't know people, Parlay Pros and CCP. I always say, and we always say, whatever you do, do it responsibly. CCP and Parlay Pros, you don't know. We're out here. Yes, people. Big up Parlay Pros if you'd like to get involved in what they're doing. Data-driven AI algorithms that help you actually understand and pick trends and patterns that will actually win. So get involved with them, people. Use the affiliate code CCP. Link is in the descriptor below. Let's move on. Last few questions for this mailbag session. Is there any hope for anyone participating in this iteration of the Breakout T20 tournament? And if not, how long do you think it will be before the tournament starts to bear fruit? So first question is, will we see the tournament again? Do you lot remember the 60? We saw that one year, never saw it again. So first things first, I want to see if Breakout League even happens next year. So I can't answer the how long before it bears fruit. Will it even happen again? Obviously it should, but let's see. And in terms of anyone participating, Micah McKenzie I haven't done the episode about it actually. So I've got an episode that I've got in the vault to release about Breakout League, but I just haven't got round to doing all that. But yeah, there was players like Micah McKenzie, Badesi for Trinidad. I like the look of him, thought he was tidy. Kofi James played his role well. Nathan Edward, I know there was a fiver and that's what everyone talks about, but I thought he looked good. I think Jadea Blades looked good. So a few people here and there, but remember it was the inaugural year of the Breakout League. I don't think we should be asking too much from it, but we saw some bits and pieces. I've got a video coming about that, so look out for that. Currently, English cricketers who play for other nations lose their domestic county cricket status. Do you see the ECB relaxing this rule and helping West Indies? No. All I see the ECB doing is teething our players, whether that be a Jofra Archer, Chris Jordan, Jacob Bethel. I just continue to see them mining talent from the Caribbean who can play for England whilst doing nothing to relax the rules to help players who can play for the West Indies who play in England. And it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Football don't work like that. Football don't work like that. Machel Antonio plays for West Ham, a striker in the Premier League, raised and born in England, but represents Jamaica in international football. That doesn't mean he's recognised as an international football. Sorry, that doesn't mean he's recognised as an overseas footballer. There's no foreigner rule in football. So why on earth does it exist in cricket? It's all part, like cricket is a dumb sport, administratively. Cricket is a dumb sport built on old colonial. I nearly said something reckless there, but you can tell there's so many things in cricket which speak to a colonial plantation past, and that's why things will never change until we get rid of it's 2025, until the old dinosaurs die out from England to India to Australia to Pakistan to the Caribbean, until all the old dinosaurs die out who lecture us about the old colonial past of cricket, we will never see things like this change. That's my take on it anyways. Kieran Powell says there should be a clear-cut succession plan with captaincy. Give it to Chase, then Graves, and go from there. What do you think? Well, we had one. That's my answer. We had one. Brathwaite was captain. Josh was groomed through the A-team system and regionally, and then became vice captain. We had a clear-cut succession plan, and we jettisoned it because Sammy wanted his own guy. Yes, of course, everyone's going to talk about the system and the process and one of the most high-tech leadership appointee models used, and that's how we're moving forward. And I'm sure that's all correct, but we jettisoned a succession plan. And apparently the new succession plan is Chase then Warwican. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Because as I keep saying, and we said it on the episode recorded earlier this week, when Sammy steps down, what is the plan then? But we shall see. We shall see. Sorry, what's the next one? Here we go. What is the most realistic option? Oh, I've already said this. What is the most realistic well, not really, actually. What is the most realistic option for West Indies to improve in the medium to long term? More development tours, sending more players to domestic English cricket, investment in coaching, bringing legends back. Right. In the long term, coaching. I said this in one of my uncle group chats the other day, where I said that one of the reasons why we suck is because coaching at the grassroots level sucks. Until you improve coaching at the grassroots level, all the way through age group, why would you expect anything to change? And just look at what's happening at the moment. Players get to the international senior level with clear like flaws in their game, and you look at them and like, how did they get so far without this ever being addressed? Because coaching sucks. So long term, that would need to change. Bringing the legends back, no, we've done that. Been there, done that. Unless you mean bringing them into coach at the levels where they can actually make a difference. More development tours, definitely. But that goes back to that thing I said earlier on about getting the best players out of the region as often as possible. Sending more players to domestic English cricket, not going to happen unless you mean club cricket. English teams don't want our players, and rightly so, in the large majority of cases. So of the examples you've given, long-term investment in coaching, medium-term, more cricket out of the region at the developmental stage, A-team stage. I still go back to the miracle at the Gabba. I still think it is no coincidence that we went to South Africa and played an A tour just before Australia. And a lot of the players who went on to succeed in Australia in that 1-1 test match draw were players who went on the A tour to South Africa. So I still think there's more to be said for A-team cricket out of the region. And then the last question for today. Why was Josh not chosen as captain? I have two answers to this. Answer one, which is the official answer. A new leadership model was implemented where they went through all these psychometric tests and clear interviews with a leadership consultant looking at who is the best leader. And they talk about all these things about media adaptability and leadership metrics and relationship with peers and all of these things that they said in their press release, right? So the official answer is Josh wasn't made captain because he didn't win in the interview. Like, he may have done well, but he did not score best in this high-tech, forward-thinking new system to identify a captain, right? That is the first answer. The second answer, which is the answer I'm still more in tune with, is that once Shai Hope said he's not going to be captain, so first things first, Josh was never supposed to be captain because the obvious answer here was Shai Hope was supposed to be captain. Anybody who's got their ear to the ground knows that the first choice, before we even heard about this leadership system, high-tech leadership metrics and all of this, before we heard anything about any of that, everyone who had their ear to the ground knew that it was supposed to be Shai Hope and that he was the guy they wanted. Would Shai have been made captain? If Shai had said, yes, I want to be captain, would he have been made captain irrespective of this high-tech leadership system? I think so, yes. But Shai said no. I think that then sent them into a tailspin as to, oh my God, what do we do now? In fairness and in hindsight, from the minute Roston Chase's name was mentioned in the top 6, we all should have known that Chase was going to be captain. Because when you look at the 6 names, he was brought into that top 6 out of the blue, right? Obviously, he's been a white ball player pretty much for the last 2 years exclusively, barely plays red ball cricket domestically, and his test record since 2020 has been abysmal, right? From the minute you bring somebody back into the fray to say, I'm going to interview you, in spite of all those things that I just said about domestic cricket and an abysmal record and so on and so forth, and the fact that that player's older than everyone else, has the most test match experience, that tells me if you are going to the lengths to interview him, you already want him to be captain. Really and truly, that's what that's telling me. So said, so done. So why was Josh not made captain? Because they jettisoned their own process for a new process, but that new process just so happened to fit for the guy they probably wanted anyway. Will Josh ever be made captain? I don't know, because we don't know what's about to happen in this next 2-year test cycle. For all we know, let's say for example, Santoki and I mentioned this at the start of the year. So under Kohli, remember Andre Kohli's gone, right? We just won a test in Pakistan and Brathwaite stood down. Maybe he was asked to stand down. Our next 8 test matches this year, or test matches this year that I know that we know officially are happening. 3 at home versus Australia, 2 away versus India, 3 away versus New Zealand, right? It is feasible that we end this year with Darren Sammy's first year in test test cricket with an 0-8. With an 0-8 record. And all I will say to people is this: if we end the year, Sammy's first year in Test cricket as head coach, with a new captain in Ruston Chase, and we end the year 0-8, what will people say then? Because once you herald, we've got this great high-tech leadership system, and Chase scored the best on it, and that's why he's captain. And once you're bossy about it, if the results then don't match on the pitch, you should never have been bossy about it. You should have just said, Ruston Chase is new captain. We did a new system of interviews and he won, and that's why he's captain. But don't be bossy about how brilliant the system is, because what happens if we end the year 0-8 now? So what? Like, what are we truly expecting any captain to do? Whether it was Josh, whether it was Warwican, Graves, Imlach, Chase, whoever. What are we truly expecting the captain to do anyway? So in many ways, whatever the reasons for why Josh was or wasn't made captain, if I was Josh, I'm sure he's feeling a certain kind of way. But if I was Josh, I'd be thinking, you know what? Thank God I'm not captain anyways, because this year could be ending 0-8, and I don't want to be the guy who's the sacrificial lamb for 0-8. So we wait and see, you know. Anyways, people, this went 40 minutes, you know. That's because bare questions were sent in. Let's wrap it up. So I'll be Machel St. Patrick here, one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. As ever, like I say, you can find us on all the social media handles, X, Instagram, Facebook, Discord. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. Just type Caribbean Cricket Podcast into Google and you can find us everywhere. Make sure on your way out you like, share, subscribe. The last video we did currently has 350 comments on it. No channel, no media outlet gets that level of engagement when it comes to West Indies cricket. Only the Caribbean Cricket Podcast can get people running to just drop their comments and get into arguments and cuss a man out and so on and so forth. If you're interested in sponsoring the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, hit us up. We are not exclusive to any one particular group or company. If you want to get involved, if you want to work with us when we're at all these games over the next few weeks, we're in Ireland for the games, we're in the women's games in England, the men's games in England, back to Belfast for the games in Northern Ireland. I'm in Jamaica later this summer for the T20s. Then I'll go to Florida for the T20s versus Pakistan. If you want to work with the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, hit me up, people. We're outside. And lastly, if you're not big and you're not huge, but you want to support the movement, head to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Any little bit helps and counts. I'll be Machel St. Patrick here at one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. You've been you. I've been me. See you all very, very soon.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket.